Welcome to Fab's new office at our facility. I'm going to give you a tour. So as soon as you enter, one of the first things you're going to see is this wall of cabinetry. This is actually lockers for all of our staff here. We do our best to follow lean principles in the facility, and part of that is respect for shared spaces. And our motto in the shop, although it's always aspiring, is that a place for everything and everything in its place. So this allows everyone to put their stuff in a spot that's designated and keep the space more organized and cluttered free. Right now there's 16 of us that work out of this facility, so eventually we may need to build more here, but right now that suits for our needs. On this side, we have yet to build sort of a bench and a coat rack for guests and people coming in for the day. So it's still a little unfinished, but still a work in progress. So that's where we enter, and then we come into the main space, and that's where it sort of opens up. So one of the main things you'll notice right away are the timber trusses. So all of the CLT and the glulam was supplied by Tyrrell out of Austria, and we worked with Aspect engineers to engineer the system. So when we were designing the trusses, we actually looked at a few other options as well. We looked at doing it in solid timber. As you can imagine, that was a pretty sizable glulam beam. So we looked at doing it in smaller pieces, tighter spacing. And in the end, when we ran the cost analysis, because we're paying for volume of wood, the trusses actually ended up being cheaper. And I really wanted to do them because I think they look beautiful and they're fun to look at. So if you look closely, you actually see these black plates. That's actually a threaded rod that runs through those vertical members. And the way the engineer explained it to me is that how a truss works is everything is in compression or tension. So as the weight is pushed onto the truss, you're either compressing the wood or stretching the wood. And so for these vertical members, it was really stretching, and those rods basically hold the whole truss together. And you can't see it, but on the top side of it, it's actually really neat. They are these ratcheting nuts, and they have a plate that screws into the wood. If there actually is any shrinking in the wood, the rod will keep its tension on the whole truss system. Obviously there's a bit of uplift, and when that happens, all the forces reverse, but they explained to me that it's a very small amount and pretty much designed for dead load gravity. So it was a very simple and elegant solution, so credit to Aspect for designing them. So you can see we actually put in a full kitchen, and one of the main reasons for that is that for us, shared meals are very important. For us, shared meals are not just about eating, it's part of our team building. It helps build cohesion amongst the team, trust, and overall better communication. And there's a lot of research to show that with teams that share meals together. So right now we're providing 1 meal a week, but having this full kitchen would allow us to expand that in the future if we choose to do so. All of the paneling through the kitchen and actually the whole office is this is what we call a nano CLT or micro CLT. So it's essentially the same thing as a large CLT, just much thinner lamellas. So we can get this in a large format panel for anywhere from 8 feet wide to 20 feet long, and it's super economical. So we actually provided some of these panels to our kitchen supplier, and they actually faced it all in the kitchen. And there is some warping happening, so probably wouldn't do this for a client, but it's fine for us in the office space. So right next to the kitchen, we have a large dining table where we can all sit down and eat together. And when we ordered all over the mass timber from Tyrrell out of Austria, we actually ordered some thin CLT. This is 60 millimeters thick. Again, very economical way to build. We built all the benches with it, built the table with it, built all the desks out of it. And it also showcases, CLT in a product that we use. So it really just shows how versatile CLT is as a material, even though it's a soft wood and might damage over time, but it's kind of the aesthetic of the whole space. On the back side, we have a divider wall that separates the office from the kitchen dining here. And things about sometimes when you're doing these floating walls is it's pretty hard to make them strong. And one way you do that is, you'll typically add a 90 to it, we'll lock it in. But we felt that would be a bit harsh, especially coming into the bench. So we put a curve into it, and it actually made this extremely solid. So then we put a micro cement on it with a trowel finish, and we did the same in the bathrooms, so that kind of ties the two materials together. Bathrooms. So the bathrooms. So the doors, we actually laminated 3 layers of that micro CLT together to create them. So these are pretty heavy, solid doors. And we had sent some of that material to get CNC'd for signage throughout the office. And so we inlaid that into the door itself. And because they're quite thick, they're almost 3 inches thick, when we did the handles, couldn't get any hardware that was long enough to do the thickness of the doors. So we actually inlaid them flush into the door itself, which obviously is more work, but kind of goes with the aesthetic, I guess. Little details. Yeah. The sinks, we actually precasted these out of concrete and made them ourselves. And then we wanted them, well, for one, is because this is an accessible washroom, it actually has to be floating. And because they're so heavy, what we did was we actually made these metal brackets that get bolted into the wall framing itself. And so it was just 1 or 2 members that were coming out. And then we put our finish and troweled the micro cement around that. And then we welded this guy in place, which then created a really strong frame for us to house this heavy sink's probably about 200 pounds. And creates a nice little industrial look. Floating toilets, parched concrete everywhere, and then the micro CLT on the ceiling is a finish as well. So this wall of CLT is actually the only interior walls we have in the space. And of course it would have been easier and faster to just frame it and put drywall on it, but we had tons of chunks of CLT left over from projects, cutouts of windows and doors, etc. And you can't really tell, but these are actually tons of small pieces all laminated together to make, one big panel. And in order to not have the sort of end grains touching, what we ended up doing was just separating that, and it kind of ended up with this 1/2 inch gap. And so because we did that, we kind of carried that out throughout the whole space, and we used the same concept for any dissimilar materials. So you can tell wherever drywall meets wood or concrete meeting wall type thing, there's always a 1/2 inch gap. I find it a bit bold and big. If I would do it again, I would probably reduce it down to more of a 1/4 inch, but overall I'm happy with how it turned out. So same thing for the conference room, same type of door. The only thing is we actually took a window from an old project that had a leftover window and actually inlaid that into the door itself. So that way if meetings are happening or whatnot, you can kind of see in and not disturb. So this is sort of at the moment the most unfinished room. We still have the base to finish. So the main feature is the conference room table itself. It's a CLT made out of thermally modified wood and spruce. So pretty unique look to it. And that pedestal is actually designed for a much smaller table. And the easiest way would have probably been to anchor it to the floor, but we didn't want to do that because it actually has radiant heat throughout. So what we did was actually just filled the whole thing with rocks to give it enough weight so the table won't move. So that we used that micro CLT absolutely everywhere. It was our jams. We didn't use a casing here. We just kind of extruded it and butted our drywall to it tight. So it gives us sort of a cleaner look. So it is pretty much an open space from the dining room all the way to where the office staff work itself. So this is where our manufacturing design team works. They'll actually receive the design from our main design team, and they'll develop it for all of the manufacturing and processes from here. You can see we had, out of the same micro CLT, we had this sign made that says, "Design is the first step in eliminating waste or creating it." And this is a really important reminder for us working here, is that a lot of the efficiency gains actually happen upstream on the decision-making level. And this is really just an extension of the factory. So the decisions that we make here actually show up on the factory floor with productivity, quality, and the flow. So this is where we actually enter the factory itself. And typically, in this type of facility, you probably would have had a steel door with, a push bar type thing. And this door was actually left over from a project. So it's a, European triple pane. You can see how thick it is. And I think just having it full glass, it really creates a connection between the factory and the office itself. And that's really what this space is about. It's really connecting the office team and the workers, so we all are, cohesive as a team.